Come see the movie franchise about a precocious little wunderkind in a world of magic that somehow isn't related to transphobia. Welcome back to Real School, the film channel that will help you dream of Hollywood but won't force you to move to Lancaster. I'm your host, Michael Wynne Johnson, and today I will be reviewing Disney Plus's Artemis Fowl. Because of my good friend Griffin over at FilmSpeak, I was recently able to co-host an interview with the legendary Kenneth Branagh, where, among other things, we discussed how do you create a successful adaptation, because he's done so many. How do you get to the truth of someone else's work? Well, it certainly helps when you have Disney dollars. Branagh does not make small films, and there has been a string of them. Thor, Cinderella, Murder on the Orient Express, even all the way back to 1996, and his opus in Hamlet. Branagh focuses on big, beautiful productions. And this is really Artemis Fowl's strength. It is a gorgeous film to watch. It's right up there with imaginative juggernauts like Guardians of the Galaxy, and you know what? It should be. When you have the combined powers of Disney and ILM, it better be gorgeous to watch. But another thing I learned about Branagh, he's fairly humble. He spoke of kind of getting out of the way of the art directors and production designers and mostly everybody that he works with when they have their own ideas. And that is a great way to direct if it works for you, which for the most part, it does for Branagh, because he has teamed up with some of the most imaginative, creative, and fantastically talented art directors in film today. Art director Jim Clay in this film had to combine the mad genius mansion of the Artemis Fowl family with the Irish mythological world that he had to kind of create from scratch, and that is not an easy task, and that is not something easy to balance cinematically, and that's what makes it Artemis Fowl's for the win. Here's where the love fest ends. Or to put it in a dialect that Branagh would understand, the course of true love never did run smooth. There are a lot of issues with Artemis Fowl, and they're kind of telling of Branagh's larger issues as a filmmaker. For the most part, his films, yes, are beautiful, but often, especially recently, that hasn't been enough. You know, way back in the day when I reviewed Murder on the Orient Express, I pretty much said the same thing. Beautiful film, kind of hard to follow. I haven't read a single word of any Artemis Fowl book, so basically I'm going off of everything that the film tells me, the information that I get from the movie. And you know what? While the first act was very clear, and the writers and Branagh really set up this world and kind of let you know what it's all about, the rest of the movie didn't. We are introduced to so much, so many characters, so many different types of fairies, so many rules to this magical world, so many plots, so many subplots, so many histories, etc., etc., etc. Now, I know what you're thinking. Other fantasy works like Lord of the Rings or even Game of Thrones have been able to do that, and they're probably more complex worlds. Artemis Fowl is an hour and a half. It goes at a breakneck speed, which works for what predominantly is a children's film. However, they cram in so much in an hour and a half that really you don't have a chance to really digest anything. There are a lot of questions, and Branagh also spoke of cutting back scenes when he felt there was enough, which quite frankly, for an audience member who doesn't know anything about Artemis Fowl, there was not. It really needed an editor's touch. As mentioned in the interview, Branagh talks about how he likes to kind of step back and let people that he works with on a film do their job. And sometimes it really pays off, like with his artistic directors. But sometimes you have Academy Award winner Dame Judi Dench hunched over and squawking like Tom Waits. I felt that Branagh needed to step in and make harder decisions as a director. Sometimes you need to tell even Dame Judi Dench, you know what, Judy? This isn't working. And sometimes you need to step in with the editor and say, we need to flush out this part. We need to expand this part of the story or this part of the mythology, and we need to cut back other elements. You need to make hard decisions. And as mentioned, the decisions that he did make really affected the film negatively. All the cuts that he did when he felt that it took too long, when there was a moment within the film that needed to move on, when quite frankly, it never really did, really affected the film in terms of characters, in terms of subplots, and in terms of things that just didn't need to be in the film. There's one character in this movie who I feel is very important in the novels, I'm not sure, but she only has like 4 lines in the movie. So there is almost zero emotional impact. You don't really get to know the characters. You don't really get to know Artemis. There is no connection between them because quite frankly, you just haven't spent that much time with them. His editing really affected this film. Ironically, I feel that Disney Plus is probably the perfect place for this movie. Not to degrade anything that's on Disney Plus or streaming services, but just it felt like a made-for-TV movie. What would have made it even more perfect is if it was a limited series, if we had time to get to know these characters, to really flush out the world. So instead of cramming everything into an hour and a half, we had a 6 or 8 episode series where we could kind of spread that out and really invest ourselves. I think kids will ultimately love this movie, but this big kid thought it was a burn it. So as always, real students, thanks for watching. I'm glad I could make a bit of a comeback. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. But before you do, answer today's poll question. What is your favorite Kenneth Branagh film? I'll let him know, because we're kind of like friends now. As always, leave your answers in the comment section below. And until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.